on. Okay. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Keeping It Radical with the Big Radical Me, Aaron Robinson. And this is now, I believe, our 6th podcast that I have recorded. So this has been a journey. But today we have a guest with us. Her name is Anika, and she is the Executive Director of the Realtors Community Foundation. So welcome, Anika.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I feel like really great. I feel like I'm in your top 6, right? Like that's like an accomplishment. I should put that on my resume.
Earlier, so you were going to be in my top 4.
Oh, I'm holding on to that.
But you're very busy right now.
It's a little busy. I'm not going to lie. It's a little busy.
It is really busy. Actually, this is just a very busy time in general. I feel like with real estate, and then we have Thanksgiving and Halloween, and then, oh my God, Remembrance Day, and then Christmas. It's a busy month, putting on top charity events and work on top of that. Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
I don't know where to put my water bottle. Aaron, I'm so bad at the podcast thing. I'm not like famous like you. This is like a whole... I feel like I'm going to be like a YouTube influencer. Should I manage my expectations? You know, are people going to be buying this outfit now?
Maybe. Okay, so that's actually, since we're talking about that, I was getting ready this morning, and I was like, oh my God, Aaron, you have really, like, stress shocked over the last year, because I was like, I have a lot of good outfits, but now I feel like I've gone through all of them, because now with the podcast and Radical Realtors and just other things, I'm like, oh, crap, I need more clothes, which Scott is not liking me for right now.
Yes, well.
But who knows, maybe at the end we'll plug your card again.
Yeah, you know... It's a good one. It's comfy.
Anika, I'm really excited to have you here today. And the big reason why I'm really excited is, A, I just love you generally as a person, as also a professional. But I wanted to bring you on because I wanted to talk a little bit about how you tick, how you got into the charity world. And then I want to also kind of have a little bit of an education session with my radicals on what the Realtors Community Foundation is, what we work towards, what our goals are, and that kind of stuff. And I just felt like having a really good organic conversation with you today would be fabulous.
Into it. So let's do it.
Let's do this. So let's start with you, Anika.
Yeah.
So I met you, I've known you, now, 3 years?
Probably, yeah, because you were not around the first year I was on the board. Well... Yeah, probably exactly 3 years, actually. Yeah. Probably just this time of year we probably had met because you were joining the board at the AGM, which is something that's happening tomorrow. It will probably already have happened by the time your peeps hear this. Yeah, but it's kind of that like wild fall season where there's, I know our friend Sharon got you looped into Santa's auction that year, and you also joined the board. You were like, you came in like full steam. Some people like to like get their toe wet. They're like, I'll like volunteer on a committee and like get a prize or two. You were like, I am co-chairing this. I am getting all of the things. Here are 40 businesses that I'm friends with. They're all giving money and I need to be on the board. And I was like, yup.
You know, this is a whirlwind. And it's so funny to hear you say that because I felt that year was the biggest gong show in the world. Because it was all so new to me. The charity world and just giving and foundation work was so different. And I do have to plug my friend Sharon because she totally voluntold me for the foundation. And you know why I actually joined the foundation was I just started real estate. And like being a lone realtor can sometimes be a little lonely. Mm-hmm. And like I was looking for a community inside my brokerage and I did find one, but I wanted just outside influence besides just what was in my house. And that was where Sharon was like, you need to join Realtors Community Foundation. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to be on this board. And I was almost like, oh my God, Sharon, like, I just want to sign up. And she's like, oh, you're doing this.
Yeah.
At first, it was the most overwhelming thing. But it's been the biggest blessing ever.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I feel like it could have gone either way.
I just absolutely love it.
Well, great. We love having you. I think that's the, it's, I think a lot of realtors find that kind of experience with the foundation where real estate's a little bit tricky in that you're all in this profession that very few people actually understand the highs, lows, and nuances of. Exactly. But you're all kind of competing against each other. So how do you, make friends or bond with people? And the foundation, I think, has created a really wholesome and fun place for realtors to come together regardless of the, the stripes they wear, in the spirit of doing something good for the community, which, like, who can't get behind that?
Exactly.
Right? So...
And what I also, and you actually kind of said it, and I want to touch on it, is we were talking about realtors, but where the foundation has really moved to is more so industry professionals within real estate. It's just not realtors and agents and brokerages. We are really trying to step outside of that. Industry professionals to bring more people in, to grow the foundation, to grow the giving, to grow the awareness. So I think that's really exciting. I think the years to come is going to be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. It is exciting, right? Because the realtors are still at the center of it. We're the Realtors Community Foundation. But the reality is anything that's going to make a real impact needs community. And that's the second word in there. And the real estate community goes beyond just realtors. And I think that being more inclusive of what that really means will be great for the foundation and also great for realtors, because we are trying to showcase, it's not our prime goal, of course, we want to make the community a better place, but we also want to showcase that, hey, you know what? Realtors are small business owners doing great things in your community. They care. They give back. Through the foundation, you're giving back to over 20 charities every year, right? And a lot of small charities that people don't know about, but those are the charities, as I tell people, that, like, when you talk to their clients, those are the charities that are, like, keeping their kids fed and keeping parents being able to go to work when they're working 3 jobs because they know their kid is safe, or they have a house that they can afford, or, their child is in good programs, or they can get the accessibility help they need in the community. There are those charities that, when people look at their day-to-day lives and the things that are keeping or preventing them from tipping in the wrong direction, it's these charities that we're funding. So I think when realtors can understand, hey, some realtors are large business owners, but for the most part, I would consider realtors like a small business owner. And to be able to help kind of the small charity and the grassroots charity in that same way, I think is such a great partnership and a unique opportunity to get in there. And even though we have industry partners that are joining in too, I think it's kind of that whole real estate profession. And I think when everyone works together, it always goes better. But I went on a bit of a tangent, but I am just really excited about where the foundation is going. I think, when you came in, and that was the same year I started in my role, things were a little turbulent. They were a little uncertain. A lot of change had happened, and I think we're at a point where we can say that change was for the better, and that's exciting. And I think any human who's been through change knows that in the middle of change, it doesn't often feel very good. So to be on the other side of it and go, all that hard work and navigating all the uncertainty, hey, it was worth it, I think it's an accomplishment, but it's also just really exciting because we are not surviving anymore. We're growing, we're thriving, we're building, we're expanding, and those are the things that I think is going to be great for you as president next year. I think that you are the get the word out, big voice guy. You want to be out there, telling everyone, shouting from the rooftops.
Screaming and hoot hollering.
And we're at the point where we can do that now. We've got all those things sorted out so that we have a great thing to show people and to get them involved in.
You touched on change. Change is often very hard, but I know for me and like my personal journey this year is I've really looked at a lot of things that I've wanted to change and build on, but I've almost been a little lost in my head. And it wasn't until I really got into those shoes of okay, Erin, we're going to change. And from that change, you're going to have such a growth. And that's really where growth happens, is when you step outside of your comfort zone. You really look outside of your sphere of influence and you change. And I feel that is where the foundation is currently, is we have done all of these amazing steps to not change from a negative to a positive, but we're growing, and the way society is going and how giving is happening and just all that little stuff. I think the foundation is in such a great place to experiment a little bit and really think outside of everyone's kind of comfort zones and the norms. That is, for me, the most exciting part about 2023 coming up.
Totally. Yeah, we're evolving.
So much.
Right? That's I think it's my own little buzzword. Yeah, well, it's funny because you and I are about as old as the foundation. The foundation's older than us.
Yes, it is.
By,
You look great.
by a few years. But I think even personally, I've kind of come to a point where, I think obviously when you're a kid, but you just like through life, there's all these things that are going to happen or that you expect are going to happen. And I've kind of reached a point where I've like hit a lot of those milestones. And now I'm like, in the last year, I've had a bit of crisis of like, so am I now in like no man's land until I retire? Or like until my kid has his bar mitzvah? Like, I don't know. Like what? Like now what?
Well, that's a really relatable place to be. For
Yeah.
a lot of 30-year-olds.
Yeah, right? Like you're kind of like, okay, like partner check, house check. I mean, all the stereotypical things and whatever. Kid check. So I kind of went like, oh, well, now what do I do? And I think the foundation, coincidentally, around that 30-year mark, whether it, I think it was kind of that same thing of like, okay, well, there was an obvious path till now. Yeah. And then things sort of leveled out. And we've been giving kind of the same amount of money every year. Like the growth kind of plateaued a bit. And a lot of the, players that were around when we were founded 35 years ago were starting to retire from their real estate profession. And you get that, now what? Now what? So in a weird way, I can kind of see the parallel and almost relate to it in that sense. I don't know if that makes any sense to where you're at in your life, but it's like I'm like, what is it about the 30 to 35 mark?
Well, it's so funny too, because in my personal life, it was kind of that 28, when I hit 28, that's when I started to really be like, is this it? What am I going to do? Am I going to continue with the corporate job or am I going to step out? And that's when I got into real estate. And when I hit 30, that was kind of, I felt like it was almost like that 30-year change or that 30-year itch where it's like, okay, my crazy wild 20s is done. Now it's really time to focus and like, do I want to stay here? Because this is a good place to stay if I just want to retire where I am. But like, is that going to keep me going? Is that going to keep the foundation going? So I think it's like the 30-year. I just feel like it's the 30s.
I don't know. Yeah, but it's a time I feel like where after 30 years of doing something, you can for sure autopilot.
Oh, 100%.
Or you can make the choice to be excellent or be better or be different, right? And so I think that the foundation, through our board members over the past few years, has said we don't want to be an autopilot. We don't want to plateau here, and we want to do these other things. So I think that that's where the excitement comes in, because I think it would have been – the easy button was there, and we didn't take it. And for that, I'm really proud of our board. I don't know if the board – I mean, as the heavy lifting ebbs and flows, people might have, like, hashtag regrets. But
hashtag regrets.
Yeah. But I think that for the most part, people can kind of see and this is just my, like, external processing. I, like, really just kind of got through that here. But I think that that is kind of where the foundation made those critical decisions over the past few years.
I agree.
Is that, like, no, we're not just going to keep giving away $250,000 a year and having the same couple events with the exact same donors and the exact same sponsors. We don't want to do that.
No.
We want to give more, make a bigger impact, get more people involved. And I think that that's really exciting and bold, and that the board should be really proud to make that choice, because it's going to ultimately benefit our community.
I think so, too. So, Anika, you have had quite the experience in the not-for-profit sector.
We're talking like the foundation for longer, and no, we're gonna go to me.
We're going to go back to the foundation, because I have some questions about grassroots charities and what's the difference and that kind of stuff.
I thought we were changing.
What I want the radicals basically to know is you have kind of been in this game for a while. You are on a few different community boards. So tell us some about them, like your experience, what led you to RCF.
Speaking of being in your 30s, I've been in this industry now for like a decade, which is a startling amount of time.
You look back at it and you're like, oh my God, 10 years. That is
I remember looking at jobs when I first graduated university, and it would say like 5 to 7 years experience, and I was like, oh, like, who are those old people? Yeah. And now I'm like, when people ask how long I've been working or in the industry, or, if my faculty is like, oh, what year did you graduate? And I'll tell them, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay, so 10 years ago. I'm like, no. Well, my goodness. Like, it's weird how in some trajectories, like, time just, you, like, feel like it stopped. And then another, like, do I feel like I'm an 18-year-old college student? No. I feel like that was 40 years ago. But when you tell me I've been working for a decade, I'm like, no, that's for old people.
I kind of had that same experience the other day. So I went to university through night classes when I was working for the city of Edmonton. So, like, I didn't really graduate that till I think it was about 2018. But I had a conversation with one of my friends about high school. And I made reference that I graduated in 2007, and I did the math, Anika. And I was like, oh my God, it doesn't feel like that whatsoever.
No, okay, but I have to tell a funny anecdote to really hammer that home. So I still have a children's license. So not my learners, just my GDL.
I got a GDL too, baby.
So, okay. So a few weeks ago when they were like, oh, it's being lifted, I was like expressing my, this is justice. I deserve it with such conviction. And then as I was speaking, it just came out that I'm like, oh, I've had my GDL for 16 years, like since I was 16. And so for half of my life, I've had this children's license. So like I've been procrastinating doing a real driver's test for half of my life.
I hear it's a lot harder than the original test.
Okay, to be honest, I did actually do it and fail.
Radicals, you hear it right here.
I know. So I hit a pothole, and the guy said I hit a curb. And I was like, this is Edmonton. That's a pothole. I see the curb. And he's like, I have a test tomorrow. And then so out of like principle, I was like, I'm not giving you $200 more if you're going to take me through Pothole City and tell me I hit curbs. Anyway, so that's just how long it's been. So it was another reflection. I don't know what word that was. When that happened, that I was like, half of my life has been spent with this children's license.
So it's funny you brought that up because we've talked about this together where I'm just like, screw it. I'm not paying that $200, $250 for a road test.
No.
And it's like, I'm a pretty good driver. For 16 years, I've gotten some photo radar, but I've never been pulled over. So I still have all my demerits. I'm not a drinker, so I don't drink and drive. I have no kids, so really, I don't drive people around more than my seatbelt. So, like, why do I need to?
Let me if you ever decide to have children, you definitely don't put more of them than seatbelts.
True.
You have some wild car seats that take up a lot of space.
Yeah,
anyway.
We're not
I know. But, Kate, sorry. I'm trying to remember what made me go on, like, 7 tangents. Between you and I, we might be here for, like, 8 hours. Okay. Yes. So I volunteered a lot on boards. Well, not necessarily boards, but, like, committees and, like, planning stuff through university and nonprofit. And initially when I went to university, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. And then in the first, like, week of school, they were like, it was, like, Chem 101. And they're like, who here doesn't want to go into, like, pharmacy, dentistry, or medicine? And like 3 people raised their hands, and the prof was like, those are probably the 3 people that will get in.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I was living in res, and you can fill in the rest of the blanks. I was like, I can't get a 4.0 in these hard subjects with labs. So I went into something called human ecology, which is sort of like sociology, but it focuses on humans and their environments and the different systems that impact human potential. So yeah, so it's like a lot of interesting. There's like some parenting courses. I don't think I learned much in those. And some like relationship courses. Adam would also probably say I didn't learn anything in those.
We were just talking about that. It's a different time.
Yes, it was a different era. But when I graduated, I actually traveled by myself for 11 months. I don't know if you knew that about me.
All by yourself?
Yeah. So I was supposed to go with a friend, and then she bailed. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm still going. So I went to Australia and New Zealand. Then I did Southeast Asia and India. And then I did a tour in Southern Africa.
I didn't know you did all that. I thought you did that with somebody because I knew you
No,
did that trip.
I did it all by myself. Yeah. Which was, prior to my fear of flying developing, obviously, because I took a lot of very questionable aircrafts. Anyway, as I was in Africa, I remember I was coming home, and there was this charity called Compassion House that I had learned about when I was in university, and they're a home for women who travel for cancer treatment. And they had this big fashion show that everyone knew about, and somebody that I knew from high school was working on it. And so I knew of them and I really liked it. And when I'd wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be an oncologist because I had volunteered at the Tom Baker in Calgary through high school and thought there was really a special place in helping people through the cancer journey. So this volunteer and program coordinator position came up, and that's everything kind of ticked into place. And the executive director at the time was a human ecology grad, and no one even knows what human ecology is. So it felt like it was this kismet thing. And I was there for almost 4 years. And then I moved on to McEwen and worked there for a couple of years, opening a social innovation co-working space called Roundhouse. And I will say that was the biggest learning experience of my entire life. The job was 0% as advertised. But if it were advertised as the job, I never would have applied because I never would have thought I was qualified. So I'm so grateful for it because I feel like I had none of the skills needed to do what the job actually was. But in learning them just like on the job, I learned actually probably the most of the skills that I use at the foundation today because it's all about running business and marketing and building community and getting people engaged. So and then I landed here in 2019. And then all that time, I've been volunteering with Edmonton's Next Gen, which was a committee of the city of Edmonton.
You've been with them for a very long time.
I've been with them since 2014.
Actually, funny thing about Next Gen.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I tried getting onto Next Gen.
Oh, no.
They rejected me.
Oh, no.
But this was in my younger days, so maybe I don't know, but I remember
I
applied for it.
That's funny. I didn't know that about you.
This was, I think, in like 2015, 16, 17. It was almost closer to when I was starting to
You're
leave
kidding.
the city of Edmonton.
I would have been involved by then. I guess I rejected you. I don't remember your application.
And what it was, I can't even quite remember, but I was in talks. So I didn't actually apply or quite anything, but I was in talks with somebody. And we were talking about, like, my experience and stuff like that. And I was talking about how I was going back to school for human resource part-time through my city of Edmonton. And it, basically, at the end of the day, they said, you know what, I think you'd be better as a volunteer. Your skills right now are still growing.
That's something we would have said.
Let's not put you on the board. And at that time, I think my mindset, I was like, I don't want to be a volunteer. I want to be on a board. So that was really the only thing. Now, if I was to go back, I'd be like, damn, Aaron, volunteering is so much less stressful than being on a board.
Yeah. So that's what happened to me, actually. Initially, they told me, you should be a volunteer instead. So I volunteered for a couple of years, and then I was on the committee, and then the committee left the city of Edmonton, so I led that a few years ago. We turned into our own nonprofit, and we're still operating today, but the event industry is just super wonky post-COVID. Like, people need to be bribed with a lot to leave the comfort of their couch with Netflix.
Just talking to my husband, he's like, Aaron, do I have to go? I'm like, you have to go. What do I have to bribe you with? Yeah,
totally. It's a different beast. Absolutely. So yeah, anyway, so I've been doing Next Gen for like ever. It's like kind of this like, I don't know. I feel like it's like this little like baby thing. I don't know. Like it's just like everyone that knows me, I think that's like part of their like, oh yeah, he's still doing Next Gen. Like, but then I've been on like other boards and committees along the way, community leagues and like a volunteer manager group. And I don't know, all sorts of things. I'm in there. I've got my like fingers in all the pots.
So what made you go towards a non-for-profit versus a not non-for-profit? Like, what was that specific difference in your brain that was like, I want to do non-for-profit versus something the same, but it's just not a non-for-profit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a for-profit?
Yeah, for-profit. Yeah, sorry.
A not-for-profit?
I'm just so excited that you're here. I'm like, oh
yeah, I just keep trying to remember to drink water because my lisp worsens. I get dehydrated.
Sorry, my lisp is on 24/7.
I'm like, must drink water. Yeah, I mean, I think I always wanted to help people. And even when I wanted to be a doctor, I was like, I want to help people. And so I think it kind of, I don't know how deliberate it really was, honestly. Like the opportunity at Compassion House, it was just, like I said, it felt like it was like meant for me almost. And then you kind of get into a sector and you start to, meet people and learn things and gain experience and proficiency. And I think I still just like that, being able to give back and make a difference and leave the world in a better place than, I arrived to it in. And I think the cool part about my role at the foundation is it's not directly maybe helping people in a way, right? Because we're funding the charities who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But the challenge that I appreciate and the outcomes that make me feel like I've made a difference are finding avenues for people to become more community-minded and more charitable. I grew up in a way where, my parents were always volunteering. I mean, all for my crap, as happens when you have kids. Like my parents were like managing my soccer teams and coaching my soccer teams, and my mom was always volunteering at my school.
You grew up with it.
So to me, it's just it's like a no-brainer. Yeah. Like that's what you do. You give back. You're a part of things. So I think the really cool place, I feel like anyway, the role that I have is that we are finding these avenues, whether it's on the board or volunteering or coming to an event and buying a 50-50 ticket. Hey, that helps too. Or, whatever it is, where I'm able to kind of help people find their path to having that community piece in their life. Because I really believe you're richer for it. It's
exactly.
So I don't know. I think that's the part that I find to be cool, is being able to get people excited about it. Because I also know how many amazing causes and charities there are. And I mean, there's honestly too many. It's startling. Like, I think it's like 8,000 in the Edmonton area or something, if I remember the stat correctly. So, I mean, there's no shortage of causes. But when you see the way people get ignited about a cause, the way that you do even about the foundation, it's really gratifying to see that. And it's also, you just think like, wow, like this is so great that a champion for this cause has been found, because there's a million issues with our world. And, there's so many problems. And I'd say that's the one thing about nonprofit is it's sometimes, if you're not cautious to see the big picture, it can feel like an endless list. Like you're just like, I will not, like, oh my gosh, like, have I moved the needle enough? Can anyone move the needle enough? Like it can almost, I don't want to like overuse the word depressing, but like it can get like disheartening almost. Like sometimes you just feel like you're like, I just feel like I keep, taking inches and then I lose them. And
you stop to see what your progress really is.
Yeah. And so I think, anyway, it's just when you see people that are really going to champion a cause and use their resources to bring something to a light, it's just a really cool thing to see. And it's a great reminder of humanity and the good that there is in the world. 'Cause there's enough not great stuff.
Exactly. You brought it back to, you started in non-for-profit because you like to help people, and that was really kind of your thing. And it's really funny, me as a realtor, and I know a lot of other realtors go and get into it's good money. If you work hard, there's really no glass ceiling. But at the same time, a lot of agents will come in and they're like, I just want to help people through the most stressful, important time of their life. And that was how I got into real estate. And selling houses to buyers and listing houses was great, and I was helping my clients. But it wasn't until I really kind of took a step back and was like, I want to continue this, but maybe I don't need to get a commission check out of it. Maybe I'm looking for something different, maybe something else. And that was really where the foundation kind of came in for me. It was a different level of helping and giving. And it wasn't until we had a realtor ball, 007 realtor ball for this year, and it was our past governor, Gail, and she said it so beautifully when she got the volunteer award, right? Yes, volunteer award. Shout out to Gail. But she got it, and in her speech she said, I got into real estate because I loved helping people. I got into the foundation because that's truly how I learned to really help people. And it's just that little switch in how you think about it.
Yeah.
Wow. And so now that's my slogan. And Gail, what camera? Gail, I'm stealing it from you. It's not my slogan. I'll give you all the credit, and I'm going to use it on everything. But it's
true.
It's very true.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's, one of the interesting things. I can't quote it exactly, so I'm not going to quote it to anyone, but I know there was discussion a few years ago about sort of the unknown role of the realtor. And I touched on it earlier when I said, it's a profession. Unless you're a realtor yourself, you don't exactly understand all of what you go through, right? But you are helping people at the biggest moments in their lives, whether they're good or bad.
Because selling a house is not always the most positive thing or why you have to sell.
No,
it's
there's
high and lows.
Separations and death and changes of circumstance that are beyond people's control. And it never dawned on me how much, I've been fortunate that so far in my life, new home purchases have been an exciting thing. But it didn't dawn on me how much realtors were, of course, like naturally became almost like the armchair therapist to people going through these things, because it's home. There is nothing that's going to resonate with people more than where they live and where it has become their home, right? So it was interesting to kind of, for me as an outsider, so to speak, to sort of have that like, oh yeah, like realtors are really connecting with people, and you're playing such an important role in people's life transitions. And I think that lends to realtors having some really phenomenal empathy and compassion for a lot of the clients who are served by our charities. And, we see that in our funding allocations. It's not just, that charity's well known or they have good advertising. It's like, I helped a client through a circumstance like that, and I know that program is going to make a huge difference. Or I help, like there's so many firsthand experiences, because we fund, the shelter, accessibility, hunger, but that can go, there are so many intersections in life where people might have insecurity with any of those three things, right? And circumstances that might be a little closer to happening to any of us than we care to know, right? Exactly. And I think realtors know that probably better than anyone. And so I think that's kind of one of those kind of like secret sauce things about realtors and the foundation that we should probably lean into more, is that realtors are there during these, like realtors do understand a lot of these challenges
100%
better than anyone, because they have seen people going through these things, and they've seen the impact of shifting housing against your, not against your will, but maybe sometimes against your will, but, as not your decision, and they can see the impact that has on people. And I think that's why our group does what they do so passionately, from fundraising to deciding where that money goes. It's because it's not, those people. To us, it's friends, clients, everyone is just so acutely aware of how these are, how everything is, possible. I don't know how to really articulate that super well, but maybe you and the little radicals got the point.
We got the point. And it's funny you even brought this up, because a lot in my marketing and how I'm seeing myself too is I feel and it's just not in real estate. I feel in any type of business, sales, self-employment, we always put our best foot forward publicly, because that's that creates confidence in each other and what you do, blah blah blah.
Your marketing's not like, I had 4 deals fall through last week.
Exactly.
Come work with me.
Exactly. But really, Anika, I think for me and where I'm coming from, like with my podcast and Radical Realtors, it's not enough of that is shown. Like, yes, there are a lot of highs.
Yeah.
But there is a lot that makes a realtor tick, down to the family life, down to charitable givings, down to community. And what I really want to change, and this is just not a foundation thing, I think this is an industry thing that I'm trying really hard, is I want to be seen as a realtor, because that is my bread and butter. But what I do in my life is I want to be seen as a community connector. And I feel in like with RCF, with the new blood that's coming into the board and whatnot, is this community connecting thing that all of us are kind of on the same vibe with. I am very excited, because it's something that not a lot of people talk about, and it's always best foot forward, but to be vulnerable and to be like, this is why I help out. Oh, I'm just so excited for that rawness. I'm very excited. Okay, still back onto RCF, but now this is a big question that I get a lot from other coworkers. What is a grassroots charity? And what really does that mean for RCF? Because, like, we really market and we educate people that we give to grassroots charities. But really, what exactly is a grassroots charity?
Yeah, well, and I think this came up at our most recent board retreat. Somebody was like, "What is grassroots? I don't know what it means." Like, and so, I mean, we interchange it with local quite a bit, and I think it means different things to different people, which is maybe not the answer you want.
I want your answer.
I think if I were to describe the charities that we give to without using the word grassroots, it's charities that are like locally operated and helping local people. And I think a lot of people, put that local at grassroots. I think where the grassroots thing gets confusing is when we've got, for example, like larger, more well-known charities like Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity works so hard on making home ownership accessible to everyone. And is there anything that correlates better to the industry of real estate than that? And I mean, I don't know, maybe you should talk to Habitat another day because we got other stuff going on with them and we can learn more about their mortgage model. I love what they do. I think what they do is such an amazing way to reduce the barrier of entry to home ownership while imparting the skills on their families to probably be better homeowners than any of us, to be honest. The amount that they learn about upkeeping homes and the coaching on the financial side and the priority of being a good neighbor and a community member. I mean, I think it's fantastic. But like Jimmy Carter literally does habitat builds around the world. So in a lot of ways, like that's not grassroots, right? But Habitat for Humanity Edmonton is making homeownership accessible for people in the Edmonton area. And they are helping Edmonton families get into homes and become homeowners. And they are employing local people at their resource centers and upcycling local items there. So local staff. So there's all of those elements that also play in. So I think that's where the grassroots word, even we say grassroots a lot, but even I think I've tried to consciously move away from it and talk more about the local impact. And
use more local based.
We talk about, positively impacting the communities we serve. And I don't mean to pick on Habitat, but it's often when I first started this job and I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'll just do what everyone else has been doing. I kind of believe that you should try it on before you criticize it. So I tried it on and, and people would often snap back about Habitat for Humanity when I would say grassroots. And I kind of thought, okay, interesting. So you go, well, something's got to change. Do I stop funding Habitat? Not that I fund anyone, but, is that it? Or is it the grassroots word? And I'm like, okay, well, the grassroots word maybe is the one that's a little bit tricky. And maybe it is more about local people, local impact. But grassroots, and you brought it up because it does resonate with people a lot. When we talk about who we fund, when you say grassroots, people go, oh, I love that.
Well, that's the biggest response I get.
And when I talk to people who've been around for a long time, they go, what I love about the foundation is that you fund grassroots charities. And I go, and I kind of always go like, yes. And I hope that we have the same idea of what that means in terms of locality and local impact. And so, it's like a non-answer, I guess I'm giving you. It's just that I think it's about positively impacting the communities in which we all live, work, and play. And, I think I mentioned it earlier, a lot of the charities, when you talk grassroots that we fund are the ones that are like one or no staff. They're like super volunteer driven. Yes. They're at that like boots on the ground, literally feeding your kid the hot lunch level of the support network. And to me, I think a lot of people see that as grassroots as well, is it's those charities that, Abbotsfield Youth Project is one we have funded, I think, every year that I've been with the foundation. And being in the charities, besides that, I would have no idea that they existed. But I can tell you that if you spoke to families that they serve, they would be like, this,
Amazing program.
was the difference. The way that they pivoted for COVID, like bringing things to their students' doorsteps so that they could do, so that they could do like Zoom lessons with them. Like they'd bring them like kits for the craft and then they'd have them on Zoom, like doing the craft. Like I've got to believe that there are a number of parents that were able to continue working those frontline jobs only because of that program. So to me, if you're asking what's grassroots, it's that. That's grassroots.
I agree with you.
Do we only fund grassroots? No. I think we love grassroots charities, but I think when we describe who we fund, it's more of that local charities.
I 100% agree with all what you just said. Because that's how I see it too. Is I feel like grassroots is just a word where people empathize with that. They're like, oh, grassroots, yes. Like,
yeah.
I can see this. But what charity is really grassroots depends on what they're really doing in that community at that time. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you.
Well, and if you're like in the political realm, grassroots is like a completely different, not even political, but like you could get into the, like Black Lives Matter, people would say it was like a grassroots thing that like came.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's how people describe it because it was like a bottom up thing, right? Because it was really like a group of committed, active citizens that wanted to, so that would be very much so, I think, in the realm of grassroots organizing. When you talk about activism, often is that. And those are very large scale things and they're very correlated with activism. So that's the other thing with grassroots. I don't think people, make that error when they talk about our charities, but it is a funny word because in some ways it describes something so small, but in some ways it also it describes something that is like so huge. Anyway, I don't know.
I love it.
Things that keep me up at night.
And they actually do kind of keep you up at night because there's sometimes Anika, where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, the amount of scrutinizing I do over words like that is a lot because I never want to misrepresent anything. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always, that's where I end up with these challenges. Like I am not I would make like a terrible salesperson because I just could never, I'd be like, but also like the cord's kind of faulty and probably going to like break an ear. Like I just cannot, I'm so honest to a fault that if I don't fully believe it, I cannot.
You just can't support it.
So I will just like sit there on a word and be like, it's just not quite right. What if people think this? I don't know if that makes me good or bad at my job, but it's true.
I think it makes you wonderful at everything.
It's part of the package. It's part of it.
So this year, Anika, our funding allocation has really kind of changed over the last, what it has been for 30 years. This year, us as a board, exec team, RCF as a whole, we have decided to kind of switch it up. So traditionally, we have done a big funding allocation once a year.
Yep.
Going forward, we have now split that into, we're doing a funding allocation every 6 months. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and kind of the positives for that?
Well, in short, I came back from mat leave and was like, I need more work. I don't know.
Also, Tad, Anika came back from mat leave, and I think all she did on mat leave was not even look after the baby. It was just think about the foundation.
I know. I came back. I was like, we're having a gingerbread contest. We're taking this. Oh my God,
you came back just hard.
Yeah, and I will tell you that now that it's our busy season, I have feelings about my prior motivation. And my child sleeps a lot less now that he's like 18 months old.
Oh, it's not the quiet sleeping all the time stage
anymore. No,
oh my God.
That's long gone. But that's why daycare's great. Proud last parent at pickup every day. Every day. He's going to watch this when he's older and be like,
Big Mom, you loved me so much.
Yeah, he's going to be like, and I'll have a few more sessions on you. Thank you. Anyway, where did I go with that? The funding allocations evolution actually started, I would say, in 2019, 2020. So when I first started, I attended one of the meetings for funding allocations right before I actually started. Like I was hired, but I hadn't started yet. And I kind of came and so that was the one thing I would say I maybe didn't quite try on as fully before I changed it because I'd kind of sat through it. And even though I wasn't in the chair, I had my thoughts. Mm-hmm. So we implemented a much more quantitative adjudication rubric, fancy way of saying everyone gets scores out of 5 on categories.
I think the scoring system is amazing.
So it's great because it adds that, because the thing is like when you're talking about small local charities, grassroots charities, like time is so precious. Time's precious for everyone. But when you have somebody who's wearing like 20 hats, who's a volunteer, if they're going to fill out our grant application, we at least owe them the decency to be able to be quantitative and structured in our feedback, and just saying, we didn't like you on Thursday is not, great. Not that that's what happened before, of course, but it was, I'd say, just a more relationship-based giving in the past, perhaps. I think we definitely still measured and read everything, but I think that the relationships were just a little bit more front and center than maybe they are now. Not that they don't count, but I'm a Libra. I like things to be fair and balanced. And so we have this quantitative structure, and then we still are discussing it. There's still a human element. Stewardship still totally matters. But when we're giving feedback to charity, we have a calculated way of providing it that gives them actual feedback and can be honest about whether they're a good fit or not for future years. Because although I'm sure every charity would love to get funding, what they would not love is to not really be eligible but have no one tell them and keep completing an application every year when it doesn't make sense for them to be doing so. We want to be respectful of people's time. So we brought that in 2020. Around that exact same time, we also changed our pillars. And a lot of this was Janine Marchant, who's one of our biggest champions and bigger donors at the foundation. She did some left a really important legacy with these items. And we used to have 5 pillars. We had crime prevention, shelter, homelessness, hunger, and special projects. So, and I kind of was like, well, what's not a special project?
I forgot about the special projects pillar.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then it's like, well, if nothing's not a special project, then why do we have pillars at all? Right? Like fine, but then just don't have pillars. Yeah. But we decided, no, it is important to us to keep these, to be focused about where we're giving, and also be honest with ourselves as a charity that, as a foundation that's not the Edmonton Community Foundation or the Stollery Foundation, that we only have so much to give, and we should, maybe we're a small fish in a small pond rather than a small fish in a big pond, and, create some criteria to kind of keep ourselves within that lane. But we amended our pillars. So now they're hunger, shelter, and accessibility, which I think is a lot smoother. People are, when they look at that, that makes sense. No one's wondering. Crime prevention was also a bit of a gray area. What are we perceiving to be something that
what's crime prevention to us?
Prevents crime.
Exactly.
What are we doing? So that was kind of the initial evolution, but it was the first time, I think, in 30 years that we'd looked at how we were doing this, and also trying to meet the needs of charities applying, which was sort of that thing I wanted to bring to the table, was hey, I've been on the other side of this, and we can make a difference by also being a great funder. Just because you have money doesn't mean you get to decide. I mean, it does, I guess. You get to decide where it goes, but it shouldn't mean that you have no duty to be a good partner. And I think that it's my goal for our charities that they love our CF, not just because they get money from us, but because we show up. We volunteer, we retweet them, we post their stuff on our Instagram, we gather water for them in the summer when it's so hot that their clients have nothing to drink, and that they love having the Realtors Community Foundation as their partner, just not oh yeah, we get money from them for this program. I really think that that's the potential we have from just the particular makeup of people that we have.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of how we act after we give money, but to me it started with how we give the money. So we implemented those things. We also brought in the flagship charity program in 2020, where 2 to 3 charities a year get awarded a $60,000 pledge over 3 years, because we acknowledged that a $5,000 grant each year that you have to apply for is also tough. It doesn't give sustainability to the charities or to their end user clients, and that sometimes there's bigger projects than that, right? That need a little bit more oomph.
Yep.
And that's been a really successful program too. So there was that change that kind of came in, and that.
Do you want to tell the little radicals what our flagship charities are?
Ooh, now you're putting me on the spot.
That's why I asked you, not me.
So I just finished making our annual report where I have the logos. So our first 3 flagship charities were Habitat for Humanity, yes, so the Youth Empowerment Support Services, and Casa House. So those all wrapped up. They got their final check this March. And then after that, we brought on Tara and I think it was Meals on Wheels and Tara that came on together. I know that, I just don't remember what order.
Did come on together.
I think it was the
very
two
close
of them
to
that
each
came
other.
on together. They actually, their logos are very similar colors.
I get them actually.
I don't know that the two of them know that, but their logos are very similar in weird ways.
We just won't be placing them side by side anymore.
Yeah, maybe they should just be friends, right?
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Is
So we brought them on, and then Homes for Heroes, we made a $100,000 investment in one of the 20 tiny homes at the Edmonton Village for Veterans.
very excited about that one.
And Drive Happiness, which makes me happy. They are like the most incredible stewards. Honestly, that's not the only reason why they got funds, but they are, they're providing accessible transit for seniors in our community, and they really stepped up during COVID. And I think one of the things that our board loved was they were insanely collaborative. Like when they would talk about what they were doing, it was every single thing that they did. Normally, I kind of am like that connector where I talk to someone for 5 minutes and I go, oh, have you talked to so-and-so? Yeah. I would do that, and every single time they'd say yes, and these 5 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are really working to be as efficient as possible to reach the most people. And so we're happy to have them on board. And then this past year, we named Our House and Camp Hihoha as our newest flagship charities.
I'm very excited about those two.
So yes, we had a meeting out at camp in September, and I think everyone was pretty impressed.
I missed that meeting because I was in Newfoundland.
I know. And then we also had Brittany, one of the former camper, or I guess still campers, come talk at our golf tournament. And I have never seen a standing ovation erupt like that in my life. Like the squeaks from the chairs that slipped out beneath people as they like just shot up. I was like, oh, man.
I'm pretty sure my gym bros that showed up were almost in tears. Like, Anika, when that was such a powerful speech. And I think that was really the first time that the foundation reached out to our charities to be like, come and talk to everyone about what you do. And just the reaction, it was powerful.
Yeah. In recent era anyway. I always say first time, and then I'm like, then again, I didn't really know what happened before I was here. But yeah, it was super powerful for people to see, because just, give us money, we give money, give us money, we give money. Again, I don't love that transactional feel, and it's not really a great pull on the heartstrings.
And that's kind of
how
a lot of giving is done nowadays anyway.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it personable. It doesn't give that oomph of...
And the reality is, when you're giving to the foundation, like, you're letting, you're helping kids like Brittany go to camp. I think it's like a $650 cost or something to a participant to go to Camp Hihoha. I forget what their real cost is and how it's all rubriced out, but it's like, we're giving them $20,000 a year for 3 years. And I mean, that money will be used for, I'm sure, a variety of other things. But if you equated it to the amount of campers and lives that you've changed, and how profoundly, after hearing Brittany and hearing how profound of an impact 6 days at camp can have on her, and hearing from her mom the impact of having 6 days of respite and being able to also focus on their other 2 children, I think that that's the kind of thing that folks need to see, is like, realtors are like, these are all these things that I don't want to use the word problem cautiously. It's a challenge, I should say.
Yes.
It's a challenge that realtors know about, because these are their clients, and that realtors are supporting and solving. And a lot of the things that we support in that way are things that, like, people don't even know are those gaps sometimes. I think that's, and I don't know how to, I can't even really articulate it here, but like, I think we need to articulate that better, because I think that when, we can show, like, as realtors, we understand these challenges you're going through, and like, the foundation supports these charities that are meeting these gaps that sometimes other people don't even know are there. Right? So anyway, the flagship, I'm like, bring it all around.
Pretty bow, Anika.
Love Camp Hihoha. Love all of our flagship charities. That's why they're there. Not that I make the decision, but nevertheless, I agree with all of you that made it. They're
sit in the room with all of us while
they're
we
all
go back and forth
awesome charities with such amazing staff and clients. But yeah, so then this past year, we kind of, again, received some feedback from charities about, well, could we be more clear about our non-flagship funding and how much money we're giving? So we're saying, yes, it's a max of $10,000. Already seeing the applications this fall. It's like, okay, people appreciated that. Their projects they're submitting make a lot more sense. They're a lot more tailored.
That's good.
Because we used to get applications for like $5,000 towards like a $300,000 project, which when we talk about moving the needle, it doesn't really feel like you're doing it, right? So I'm excited to see how that goes. But we also saw that, we've got a lot of summer camps, we've got a lot of school programs, we've got things that are a bit more seasonal, and that once-a-year application for funding under $10,000 might not be the most practical. $10,000 is not no money, but it's still an amount that a charity kind of needs on a more nimble basis. The $20,000 a year is something you can plan for, but sometimes when it's that lower, like, an emergency repair of something, or like you can't wait until September to apply to get funding in March, or you're applying for funding in March, but your program started in September. So we're like, let's try and meet people's needs a little bit better. So we created 2 cycles, as you described initially. So now we have a spring and a fall cycle, and then we have a completely separate flagship charity application that will run through the summer. So our funding allocations committee used to be pretty busy on like 1 month and a day a year. They'd have one meeting and be, deliberating for that month prior, on their own. Now it's going to be kind of 3 times a year, but hopefully
more opportunities to give, Anika.
I know, and I hope it levels out, and I think, I hope it really meets the needs of our charities better, meets them where they're at, and like I said, it's just all towards that goal of being an excellent funder. Like I do genuinely want people to just not be like, oh, phew, we got that money, but like, oh, okay, like I'm so excited we get to work with Realtors again this year, because you guys are awesome.
Thank you. I think we're pretty
right.
Cool.
So I think the more we can lean into that, the better.
Well, and I have to give props to the chair of that funding allocation committee, Nicole McAvoy, who's actually our past president. She was president last year. And she had a big task of reorganizing, rethinking, just getting it from 1 time a year to 2 to even 3. So, Nicole, props to you, girl. You did a very good job chairing. And I'm going to really miss her next year, actually. But I think taking the lead on that was it was perfect for her.
Yeah.
She did a great job leading it.
Totally. And Nicole is awesome. She hears from everyone, too. She really listens, which is good. And we did a charity survey too, reached out to our charities, asked for their feedback, and she was able to.
She's really good at thinking outside the box with those types of
She
things.
is.
She's great.
I know.
Nicole,
why did you mention that? Now I'm so sad.
Okay, well, I'm going to stress you out now a little bit because we have a lot of events coming up.
I had no idea.
From here until literally, I think the mid-December is when we hit mid-December, then I think that's when we can breathe a little bit. And then we're like, oh my God, it's like us Christmas time now.
The board can breathe.
Oh. Anna's not breathing. She's hyperventilating.
Yeah.
It's the brown paper bag.
Yeah. I don't know. It's,
So we have our AGM tomorrow.
Yeah.
Our annual general meeting. I'm really excited for that one. I think.
How nice for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I don't know that that's the word I would use.
Oh, really? I'm so excited. I love these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is good to get everyone together. I love that because this is often a time where those people, like your broker James, maybe will probably be there.
Yeah.
Barring no other, but it's a great time to have people like him come out and get to share some of the cool stuff that we've been up to. And, everyone's so busy, and a lot of times people, if they're really busy, they write checks, or, if they're less busy, maybe they're volunteering. But it's great to have everyone kind of all in one room at a capture in time to just celebrate, like, look what we've done together, regardless of the way that you've given back this year. So it's cool for that reason. On my side of things, there's a lot of reporting and technicalities, a lot of motions. Bylaws are getting approved.
This is why we got you, Anika. You're
just
so good at your job.
It's a lot of things. There's a lot of T's and I's and boxes that need to be dotted, crossed, and checked. So it's it'll be fine.
So we have our AGM tomorrow, and tomorrow's the 27th. So when this podcast comes out, it'll probably come out about a month after the AGM.
Yeah.
So we'll have an update for all that, but hopefully I get voted back in. If we don't get voted back in, I cry.
So that's the sort of stressful, also exciting but stressful part, is that's where we nominate our new board members.
Yes.
But the way our bylaws are written, it's kind of funny when you are president-elect in your third year of a third-year term, because you have to run again to serve as president. So hopefully that works out.
Nicely this year.
Yeah.
I
guess we'll find out in November.
Oh yeah, I guess. Okay.
I guess when this podcast airs, there'll have to be like a
an update at the end of the credits.
I'll just shoot it now. Aaron did get reelected. Aaron did not get reelected. You can cut that in however you want.
Okay,
PSA.
We'll take it to the editing room.
I really, man, I mean, and I can't really have an opinion in it.
True.
But this isn't going public till after. I hope we have you around. I really don't know.
I am pretty positive.
But I mean, the only like really good part about like we have had so many people interested in the board this year.
This is crazy now.
Which is great because the first year that I started, I honestly felt like I was like begging people, or it would be like people in your office, everyone's office would be like, I found somebody and I told them it's just one meeting a month and they'll be here. And I was like, it is more work than that. That is totally falsely advertised. But that was what we needed to do. And now we're at a point where we have a ton of interest, and I am like so proud of us because that means that we've built something that people feel that they're a part of, that they belong to, and that they want to be a part of. And I think that is a good accomplishment when we're talking about community.
And just the culture of the board is amazing.
It is, and we have our nominating committee is putting forward names of individuals that I think are awesome. That said, people can still put their name forward from the floor, and I'm sure that they'll be awesome too. So it is a really cool time of year where, despite all of the governance-y checkboxes that I have to check, we're getting a lens into what 2023 will be. The AGM is our first taste. It's the first time we actually know for sure what our board will be in January. Like today, we have no idea.
Oh yeah, we don't really.
Right?
We have an idea, but not really a whole clear vision.
So, it's kind of like one of those things. It's a necessary evil in terms of, being a society and operating as a charity. We need to have AGM. So there's the necessary evil part of it that is less fun, but there's the really exciting renewing part where we're bringing on new people. We're honoring people that are leaving us. We have two people that have been on the board for 6 years. Brent and Nicole are retiring, and they're done their terms, and Michelle's been on for 5 years too. Like, that's no small feat. That's an incredible commitment to community, and so
don't just do one meeting a week. Or
no,
month,
exactly.
A lot.
And I mean, I'm sad that we'll be losing them on the board, but I know the other thing is that we're in a spot where they're all going to stay engaged, and so we're just constantly, as we bring new people in, we're growing this community of people that love this foundation and love the charities 100%. We serve and are going to be champions for it. So that part is very exciting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just the logistics of the motions and the Zoom voting and there's just so many things.
You got it, Anika. You got it. If anyone has this, you got it.
Yeah.
So then we really don't have anything big happening in November except our online Santa's auction goes live on October 15th.
November 15th.
November 15th.
Yeah.
So,
there's a lot going on in November, Erin.
There is a lot. There's a lot. I'm meaning more event-wise.
Yeah. So we are deliberating our charities. So first of all, we do have a funding allocations meeting in November, which isn't an event, but it is exciting because it's the first time in this 2 cycle. So we have that.
I forgot all about that bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me.
So we have, I just have been looking at my schedule lately and I've been like, oh my gosh, wow, okay. Maybe I shouldn't have added so many new ideas when I came back. Maybe I should have tried it on first, Anika. But, I mean, that was a cool experience coming back from mat leave, too, right? Because you're, like, new to something that's old in, like, a weird
and you were kind of caught up, but then you weren't kind of caught up.
Yeah, it was cool. But anyway, that's not the topic. We also have Realtors Care Week from November 14th to 22nd. We do have another volunteer commitment on the 24th that we're going to loop in. But, so volunteering in the community all through that 10-day period. Yeah, it'll be great. And a lot of our realtors, I should say, have been kind of craving that in-person at the charities volunteer experience. Through COVID, we really had to scale back. And even just in the past 6 months or so, a lot of charities, because they had to eliminate those roles during COVID, haven't fully brought them back, or they don't have the staff to supervise it, which is something, if you're not in the charity sector, sometimes it's hard to understand. But it actually takes staff to be able to have volunteers. You need the staff to manage the volunteers.
Exactly.
And that is, as much as the volunteers are helpful, sometimes it's a bit of a make work project. over and above your lean operations that you've now been doing for 2 years. And, depending how your funding works, it may not be up and running. So we've got a few opportunities there that'll be exciting. You are right. Santa's auction will open online on November 15th. So we will you can start bidding. It will text you when you get out bed so you can
and it's on Giver
win.
It's online. So
yeah.
Just not realtors and industry professionals can bid on
anyone.
stuff.
My mom will bid.
Oh,
so yes.
Our moms will bid.
They will bid.
But it's open up to everyone. And I think actually that's a really positive change that we made in the foundation with Santa's auctions. Before it was all in person. And that really, the 300 people that kind of came to that time, that place and time, really only got to bid. But now we're opening up to everyone.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Which is good. And I think it's a cool way to just, sometimes we just have really cool items. And somebody who knows nothing about us finds out about it. And then you kind of appeal to them. It's closing on December 1st, so it's in time for Christmas shopping or whatever you celebrate. As a Jew, I have to say holiday. I shouldn't even be saying Christmas.
I say Christmas.
Don't tell the rabbi. But
don't tell your rabbi you did podcast.
It's okay. It won't come up. Yeah, so anyway, so that's coming up. But we also have our first gingerbread house building contest, which was a Matt Leaf brainchild.
I think this is going to be a good brainchild. But it's the first year.
First year. So we're figuring some stuff out, and it's sponsored by Litco Law. So we're really excited that they're a new sponsor in 2022, and they stepped up as the title sponsor. And so that's super encouraging. But it's going to be great. So anyone can submit a house. It's free to submit. We didn't put a fee on it this year. Didn't want to hedge our bets on year one. But yeah, so the houses, it's kind of like a two-pronged thing. So the houses will all go into the silent auction. So people will bid on them, and even if you're just buying back your own house, you're still donating to charity. Yeah. I gotcha. But the other thing is we're going to have a panel of judges who are going to award some prizes to the best house. And
this is going to be exciting. I'm excited for the panel.
Yeah, so hopefully they can kind of create that healthy competition that gets people. I think so far, the registrants for sure, I think have been talking to each other, including yourself, being like, ooh, I'm going to, never mind, sip my mouth. So I'm excited to see what actually arrives at the event. And all of the houses too will be accompanied by a feature sheet, which is kind of for non-realtors out there, when you go to an open house or wherever, there's the sheet that tells you all about the house. Yep. So it'll basically have the photo, and people get to describe
it's gonna be awesome.
Their gingerbread home or landscape. I heard someone say they're making an acreage.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to step up my game. I asked for the bigger board, by the way.
There you go. See? So, yeah. Anyway, I think it'll be fun. The goal with it was to get people in, the Christmas spirit, but in the name of the foundation. Because we have really engaged people that are going to be engaged no matter what. Yeah. That whatever it is, they're going to show up, they're going to donate, they're going to volunteer, they're going to do all those things. But there is this whole world of realtors. There's 4,300 realtors in the Edmonton area, or that are members of RAE. So, that includes Drayton Valley and Bonnyville and other smaller communities. But nevertheless, 4,300 people.
That's a lot.
And we don't have a lot of those engaged. But I wanted to create something that was a lower barrier to entry that would still get people, hey, that's something I would like to do with my office or my team, or I don't know, my kids, whatever. It sounds fun. I want to do it. And then they are still kind of becoming part of our community. And through that activity, they'll learn a little bit more about our charities. They'll learn a little bit more about what we do. They'll hopefully want to be, get involved in other things that we're doing. So, we'll see if it has that effect. I think so far it's shaping up to be really fun, and the healthy competition already, I have heard some trash talk, is alive and well.
What I've seen, not heard, but I've seen is, and this is the positive, actually, we witnessed it the other day in one of our meetings, where there are two individuals from two different competing brokerages names that are actually coming together to build a house together. And I think that in this real estate industry is sticking to your little cliques doesn't really work anymore. And to see people venture out with other brokerages and people and doing this collaboration.
Yeah.
Anika, I think it's
fun.
I think this idea, because this is your brainchild, I think you're going to have something great here.
I'll have to own it either way. I'm prepared. I'm prepared. But I think it's going to go well. I do. And so there's that. There's the gingerbread contest. There's Santa's auction, which is online, as you mentioned. But then we have the in-person event on December 1st, which will also have raffles, champagne raffle, 50-50.
Oh, I'm working on 50-50 prizes.
Yeah, great. So I mean, there's so many things kind of around that. And then we have our inaugural Day of Shelter on December 10th.
Yes.
So the city of Edmonton proclaimed December 10th as the Day of Shelter. Also the city of Calgary. So it's the first time since I've been around.
Calgary did it too?
Yeah. So we have been in conversation with the CREB, the Calgary Real Estate Board Foundation, this whole time. And we're going to try and kind of do it in our local communities, but together on the same day. So to see, that province-wide, I mean, there's other real estate boards in the province, but, to begin that collaboration outside of the Edmonton area for the benefit of showcasing the importance of shelter specifically because, there's so many reasons why someone might have trouble finding housing in their life. And some of us are a lot closer to that than we think. And so I think bringing awareness to these causes is not something that's a local problem. And I think the fact that we can work as a province on some stuff too, or like I said, with Calgary, we don't think we're the only people in the province, don't worry. But it's a start at that collaboration out of our sphere. I'm really excited about it. This year it'll probably be mostly volunteer stuff. We do have the proclamation from the city, but I think as it grows in years to come, it'll become a beautiful day to showcase at a time where it's freezing in this province, and we are so grateful for our warm four walls and a roof to showcase just how important housing is. So that's coming up. We're going to be doing some stuff at Homes for Heroes that day. Still TBD on the details, but we're really excited. And then
Sign me up for Homes for Heroes.
I will. And then it's year end, which is just a little, that's what I mean. It's busy for me, but not for you. And then we have a casino January 13th and 14th.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
this
so
is gonna be my first casino
I kind of
ever.
count that in this year because we're going to have everyone recruited and all of the paperwork submitted in this year. So the work for it is this year. So that's,
So when I sign up for that casino, please do not put me in the cash room. I do not want to count cash. Can I talk to people?
You can be a cashier.
Oh, I would
so
love that.
you still have to count money, but they always have someone that's watching you. So that's the thing about these volunteer casino things is that they're not going to actually trust a group of volunteers that have been trained 6 minutes ago to count $20,000 in cash.
That's where I'm like,
that's absolutely nuts. No, they're not. So they're supervising you, which I did try to be clear. I was like, no experience necessary, no experience. I think that Adam and I have worked probably 20 casinos in the 8 years we've been together. Really? That's what happens when you're a little too entrenched in the nonprofit world, and then you've owed too many favors to people. You're like, if you come work my casino, I'll work your casino. It's a bad cycle. But the casino is an amazing opportunity. For filling those shifts over 2 days, we will likely earn around, if not more, $60,000.
And I don't think a lot of people know or realize that. That is big for the foundation.
Yeah.
It's big for just supporting that one time. It's a $60,000 gift.
Yeah. And now, the way that it's restricted through AGLC, we do that for charitable giving. But if you were to equate it to, the way our admin costs work, our investment interest pays for my salary, but we also have expenses like board meetings, audit, bookkeeping, those other hard expenses, the $30,000 a year, because this opportunity typically comes every 2 years. So if you slice it in two, the $30,000 every 2 years more than covers any of those other incidental costs, right? So, how it gets directed through AGLC, we are giving those checks to charities, but the equivalent amounts makes it so that every dollar we're raising really is going straight through, which is something I'm always cognizant of as a foundation and a middleman. Is I don't want to be siphoning. I don't want to be devaluing the really hard-earned dollars that people are giving us. So this type of an opportunity, I always look at as okay, well, that equivalent, is covering off all of that and then some. So.
Well, and that's a lot, too, when you look at your expenses and everything. Expenses are not cheap at all. If you know any self-business, self-employed person, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And to be able to make that up so that you can give more. Rather than taking it out of your donations and your sponsorships. Yeah. That's not what we want. So, this is good.
Yeah, exactly. So, as I said, it is technically going to charitable giving through the restriction, but it's that equivalency. But it's a cool thing. You get to be a cashier. You talk with every person that comes. But the thing I learned the first time I did casino, I'm trying to find an equivalency. Anyway, I was like, this guy was cashing out like 10 grand. And I was like, oh my gosh, congratulations. And I was like eagerly counting out his money, being like, I will never have $10,000 cash in my hands again. This is so cool. And then he left, and the casino advisor, because these folks work for a number of charities, they're employed through the system. And so they're there all the time. They're like, he just lost like $40,000. Like, this is a person who comes in and puts like 50 grand down. And I was like, for whom is $10,000 terrible? Like, that person, I guess.
So this is one of the reasons why I don't gamble, because that's me. I spend 50 to make 10.
Yeah, so that would be my tip for anyone who registers as a cashier, is always be very neutral about the money you're giving, unless they have indicated that it is a win for them, because what might be because for me, I assume everyone like me starts with $20 on a slot machine. So I'm like, wow, 10 grand, you really went up. That's not what everyone does. So, but it is the most fun because you get to kind of like sit there and see all the people and like kind of like wonder what they're up to. Yeah, you know?
We people watch, but we don't tell people we people watch.
I think everyone knows that you people watch.
Okay,
I don't know if it's I don't think that that's like an unspoken thing. But the casinos I find are really fun. It's like kind of its own thing. You got to stay up super late, but you get a meal and it's kind of just an experience because like otherwise, like I said, like are you ever going to see the back like that much cash and like the back workings of a casino? Like it's actually kind of cool.
I don't even put $20 in my wallet anymore. It's
no.
on debit. So it's like I tap, but I don't use cash whatsoever. It's just it's a different world now. So I am excited about this. So
it'll be cool.
For a cashier.
Okay. Will do. Done. Yeah, it's good. We've actually had like decent numbers signing up so far. I think a lot of people, because like you don't have to be a charity to get casinos. Like sports teams and community leagues and stuff also get them. So I feel like a lot of people through those experiences in life have like eventually come across a casino. Now you've come across one through your work with RCF. So I feel like as time goes, people just know. Yeah. Like when you say, oh, it's a casino, they're like, all right, if I can show up for this 8-hour shift, I'm like helping earn this big amount of money. Like there's a really amazing ROI that people seem really familiar with, especially if you bring a spouse. Like bring Scott.
Oh, yeah, I will bring Scott.
Yeah, it's like a fun. Like I said, like I normally drag Adam.
He's never done a casino either.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna talk when I go home today. I'm gonna be like, Townsend, guess what I signed you up for? And he's gonna be like, Aaron. Fine, I'll do it because I love you.
What did I say about going out?
Exactly.
Yeah. But casinos are fun. I actually think they're kind of fun.
Interesting. Okay, I'm really excited for this. I am really excited for this. Okay, Anika, so if the radicals listening to this want to reach out to RCF to volunteer or even potentially be interested in a board position or applying, how do they contact you? What volunteer opportunities and how do they kind of come up with contacting and get info on that?
I mean, we have a website.
Yes.
Realtorscommunityfoundation.com. I'm sure you can like put that somewhere.
Well, it's already everywhere.
Great. So on there you can sign up for things. I mean, I typically, this becomes another point of contention. I focus more of my energy on Instagram than anything else. And even still, I'm a one-person shop for the most part, other than our awesome board. So I only have so much time to do everything. But normally if I'm going to be like, oh, I need to market this, it for sure hits Instagram. Yeah. There's nothing that I'm marketing that doesn't hit Instagram. So we're at RCFYEG on Instagram, also on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. So I would always encourage people to follow us there. If you go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. It's monthly. I don't have capacity to do more than monthly, so we will never be more annoying than that. And I think
I want more than monthly.
No, I don't think anyone does.
The amount that real estate spams our emails, I don't want.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, monthly newsletters. You can sign up for those. You can sign up for things directly on the website. Yep. Go to the Instagram, slide in the DMs of the Instagram, email, whatever. I mean, there's all the ways to reach us. The great thing about it being me is like you will be reaching me. It is
some messages.
Do you actually?
It's really bad, and actually you changed the password a while ago, not because Aaron was abusing it, but I think you were just doing something and it stopped. But there's been a lot of times where like I'll go onto the RCF page and I forget it's the RCF page, and I like scroll through the feeds and I comment and I'm like, hey girl, that's great, and I'm like, oh crap.
I do remember that at a period of time, and I was like, I never would have used that many emojis.
Oh, I like my emojis.
Yeah, and I was like, Aaron for sure is in here again. But whatever.
Now I'm really good at it. I let you just do it, but at the beginning I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, many hands make light work, but Yes, I do think, like, so yes, and all of that, when I said point of contention, is we're not on TikTok.
I think TikTok
And
is
I
a
don't
different
think
demographic.
that we're going to be on TikTok. I think we could make reels, but I just
agree.
think I actually went to a workshop with Joanne.
Yes.
We talked about TikTok for business,
Yeah.
and it really, from what I gathered, was a more global reach, virally kind of thing.
100%.
And I think that what RCF does is worth shouting from the rooftops, but I don't think there's actually a benefit from it going like globally viral, nor that it would.
I 100% agree with you.
I think that what
Local-based.
we need to do is exactly reach the people that we need to reach locally. Yeah. So I think we're going to stay off of TikTok for now.
I think that's a good idea. And also,
if my incoming president will allow it.
Yes, that's okay. And I've noticed with TikTok is you have to pump out that content so much more. And like I feel like where we're struggling with, oh my God, there's so many things. I think TikTok is that one where I don't think it's needed for the foundation yet. Mm-hmm. I think it could be for a bigger reach later on.
I would like to say that I have proudly never opened a Snapchat account. And there was a period of time where people thought Snapchat was the next big thing.
People still say Snapchat's the next big thing.
I know, and
I don't use Snapchat.
It was the first time, cycling back to us being old, the first time that I was like, I'm a crusty old person. Was when I was like, I will not get Snapchat. And I have held out.
So Snapchat.
It's currently in 2022. I don't know when it came out, but I still have never opened an account, and I'm vowing to also not open a TikTok.
So Snapchat came out. I think it came out or started getting popular when I just met Scott. Okay. And when you're in a committed relationship, and Snapchat was more so of like, you can send nudes and it deletes right away. Aaron didn't really use Snapchat, and then people started using it, and I never got into it. Then Instagram came up, and I just stuck with Instagram.
I even resisted Instagram for a long time.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I was like really into my Facebook and my Nexopia.
Nexopia Plus.
Back in the day.
I remember back in high school, my parents would ground me and take away my laptop and computer. I'd go to Blue Ship Gaming in West Edmonton Mall.
Oh, wow. That's committed.
I'd pay the $15 for 3 hours just so I could sit in front of the computer, Nexopia Plus, make my page all lime green and blue.
Yeah.
And
wasn't that like, and it's so funny because everything I know about like building websites is from Nexopia and MySpace. So everything.
I never used MySpace. It was more Nexopia for me. I never really got into the MySpace thing.
I think I did briefly. I don't think I had like friends on it. I think it was just cool because I think it was more customizable than Nexopia. I think you could really like, and I don't know, like I thought it was like a cool coder or something. I don't know. Like
my username, oh my God. Okay, we need to get off this topic because we're dating ourselves. But my username for Nexopia was Shizzle. Because through high school, I just felt I was so
the
cool.
Shizzle?
I was the Shizzle. And
oh, wow, Aaron.
I'd be like, the Shizzle.
Wow.
And for some reason, that was my Nexopia, and I remember there was another kid who had Shizzle. And so I couldn't just have the word Shizzle. I had to have asterisk, Shizzle, asterisk. Oh, I think I might have bullied that one kid to get rid of him. It took about a year, and then finally he got off, and I took the name just full Shizzle.
Just to prove that what you think is important today might not be important tomorrow. Or that, we had concrete life paths when we were younger, and now it's all over the place. But back then, we knew what we wanted.
Exactly.
I was a late adopter even on Instagram. I don't know what it is about social. Like, we keep our kid mostly off it too. I just I don't know.
I think that's gonna be an interesting topic when Scott and I have kids. The social media topic.
Yeah,
it's only gonna be worse when I have kids. Like, it's bad now.
I know. And the reason we keep it, like, I couldn't imagine growing up and then being like, oh yeah, like the world like saw me naked until I was like 3, and like now they know all the things that I've like done. Like, I don't know. I mean, I just want him to be able to ruin his own life on social media. I don't want to be the reason he can't run for politics. I mean, I'll be the reason because of all the terrible other things I did, like feed him cookies and whatever, but it won't be because I ruined his social media presence.
You're so funny. Anika, I just really enjoy you, love you, and appreciate you. And this was a good little podcast today. I think this was quite successful. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been good.
We should do this again.
It's a very official setup.
Well, you know, I kind of like it. I kind of like it. But anyways, my little radicals, we are done now with Anika. And if you want to follow more stuff with Realtors Community Foundation, you can find them on Instagram, # @RCFYEG. That's also Facebook, as well as Twitter, Instagram,
LinkedIn. But I'm pretty delinquent with the LinkedIn, so keep your expectations on par if you're following us on LinkedIn. You still do it.
Still do it.
Just, yeah.
Anyways, little radicals, I love all of you, and thank you very much for today. Until our next podcast, Radical out.